This tutorial demonstrates how you can determine the areas closest to each of your facilities by creating areas of influence. These areas, also sometimes known as catchment areas, can be either straight-line based or drive-time based. Straight-line based areas of influence divide a map into territories based on a straight-line distance from point features. For example, my working layer in this map is the landmark layer, and I've already created a selection set of hospital features, so I can choose Tools, Analysis, Straight-line influence areas. Choose whether to build the areas around all features in the working layer, the features that are visible in the map, or a selection set. In this case, I'm going to use my Hospital ER selection. Enter a name for the layer. Choose a field from the point layer to identify the areas. Maptitude has already suggested that I use the name field, so I'll leave that as it is. You can check this box if you want to calculate demographics for the areas of influence. There is also an option to create a report that will include a map of your areas of influence and any calculated demographics. I'm going to leave these options unchecked and click OK. Maptitude creates the areas of influence and adds them to the map, and if you chose to calculate demographics, opens a data view with the results. You can see that when Maptitude creates straight-line influence areas, it starts with a large circle that encompasses all of the points, and then subdivides it based on the proximity to those points. Each area shows the straight-line catchment area for a hospital. So, for example, everything in this area is closest to this hospital, and everything in this area is closest to this hospital. For more accuracy, you can use the street layer to build areas that are based on drive time or distance by using drive time influence areas. First, I'm going to hide the layer that we just created, and then choose Tools, Routing and Directions, Drive Time Influence Areas. Choose the point layer and features to use from these two drop-down lists. In this case, I want to use the landmark layer and the Hospital ER selection set. Again, Maptitude has suggested to use the name field to identify the areas, and I will use that suggested field. Optionally, you can choose a weighting field. Let's leave that as none. And finally, you need to choose whether to minimize the travel time or length. I am interested in creating areas that are based on travel time, and I want to see the areas that are within 15 minutes of a hospital emergency room, so I will enter 15 as the maximum time. On the Options tab, make sure to check the Create Zone Layer box if you want to create a layer of the catchment areas. You can also create a table that assigns each street segment to a territory and shows those assignments with a color theme. I'll go ahead and use these defaults and click OK. Maptitude creates the drive time areas of influence around the hospitals up to the maximum 15 minutes that I chose and displays them as areas on the map. In addition, Maptitude has created a color theme on the street layer using the link table that was created. Each street is colored to correspond to its closest hospital. So, for example, if you are anywhere within this area, on the streets shown in orange, the closest emergency room is the Duke Regional Hospital. All of the streets outside of the drive time influence areas are more than 15 minutes from one of my selected hospital emergency rooms. Finally, let me turn off the drive time influence areas and turn back on the straight line influence areas. You can see that the straight line based areas are a fairly good representation of the catchment areas and should be acceptable for applications where less precision is necessary. And that wraps up this tutorial on creating straight line and drive time areas of influence.